Her son hurled her walker into the yard and called it a visit. 3 weeks later, police knocked on his door with a fraud packet in hand. Gloria didn't raise her voice. She raised the original, title unsigned, undisputed, still hers. They thought she'd handed over the van. They didn't realize she'd kept the deed and every receipt. Now they're locked out of her assets, her inbox, and her peace. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. The walker's front wheels locked against the uneven concrete lip where the sidewalk met Travis's patchy lawn. Gloria stopped. Not because she had to, though her knees were yelling again, but because something in her wouldn't let her cross just yet. The manila envelope pressed against her chest felt heavier than it should have. It held the signed title to her van, her last big asset, the one she'd gifted, officially, to her only son. Travis sat slouched on the porch in a faded lawn chair, beer bottle dangling between two fingers. A football game blared from the flat screen just inside the open front door. He didn't look up, didn't move. The grass under her walker was dry and crunchy, a forgotten lawn, full of weeds and gopher tunnels. Gloria nudged forward anyway, wheeling herself slowly toward him, one deliberate push at a time. Braden stood just inside the doorway, 17, headphones slung around his neck, eyes flicking from the screen to her and back again. Gloria reached the bottom of the porch steps and cleared her throat. "Brought the documents," she said, holding up the envelope slightly. "Title's inside. I signed it this morning." Travis leaned his head back and squinted at her. "You could have mailed it, Ma. I thought I'd hand it off, properly." She nodded toward Braden. "Braden, could you help me with the steps?" Before the boy could even shift, Travis pushed himself up with a groan. "Jesus, you drag that thing everywhere now?" he muttered, already walking down the steps. She braced, expecting him to offer an arm. Instead, he grabbed the walker, not gently. Then, without warning, he turned and hurled it into the yard like it was an old broom. It bounced once on the hard earth and landed on its side, one wheel spinning lazily. "If you can't walk," he said, voice flat and sharp, "don't visit." Inside, Lacey's laugh rang out. "You're a mess, Travis." Gloria stared at the walker, at the imprint it left where it hit the ground. Then her eyes moved to the van in the driveway. Her van. A 2016 Dodge Caravan, modified with a wheelchair ramp, hand controls, and a custom swivel seat that had been her independence during harder months. She remembered saving for it. The joy of driving again. Now it sat in their driveway, still running, still warm. "You need anything else?" Travis asked, already turning away. Gloria didn't answer. She looked at Braden. He hadn't moved, but he'd seen everything. She turned. Every step back toward the sidewalk felt like stepping through thick water. Her back throbbed. Her hands trembled slight enough that she gripped the envelope tighter just to feel something that still belonged to her. She stopped at the edge of the yard and knelt slowly, awkwardly, to retrieve the walker. One of the legs had caught on a rock, and she had to tug it free. She stood again, testing the wheels. One wobbled, but turned. When she looked back, the van was still there, idling quietly. She reached into her sweater pocket and pulled out her phone. Thumb shaking, she tapped out a message. To Elliot Reese. "Is the transfer processed yet?" She hit send. The porch was behind her now. The van, the yelling, the beer, the brittle laughter, they all shrank with each slow step toward the street. She didn't cry. She just kept walking, because she could. The reply from Elliot came at 6:47 a.m., sharp and to the point. "DMV has not completed transfer. No record of submission. Still titled in your name, Gloria. Call me if you're ready to move forward." Gloria read it twice before setting the phone down next to her untouched oatmeal. The steam rising from the bowl curled in soft shapes, but she barely noticed. Her eyes had shifted to the small wooden drawer beneath the hutch across the room. She rolled herself over with quiet purpose, each step of the walker clicking gently on the tile floor. The drawer stuck at first, swollen from years of humidity. She gave it a firm tug. Inside, tucked between an expired AAA card and an old photo of her late husband standing next to a grill, was the envelope manila, creased at the edges, unmailed. She pulled it out slowly. The title was still there, unsigned, untouched. The pen she'd used to fill out everything else. Travis's name, the date, the van's VIN still, sat on her desk. Ink dried halfway through a checkmark. She never finished it. Never sealed it. Never mailed it. They didn't know that. She glanced at the time. Still early. Sharon would be up. That woman never slept past 6 unless she'd been out driving all night. Gloria tapped her phone open and sent the message. Gloria, you free to drive this morning? It didn't take long. Sharon, where we going? DMV or demolition derby? I'll bring coffee. Gloria chuckled just once and leaned back in her chair. Then she opened her laptop, clicked through the DMV's site, and selected Request Appointment. From the drop-down menu, she picked her reason with deliberate care. Reclaim ownership, transfer incomplete, or disputed. The time slot was set for Friday morning, 9:15 sharp. By noon, she had the envelope tucked into her purse, a fresh blouse ironed and ready, and the quiet hum of resolve filling the spaces where self-doubt used to live. That night, after her shower, Gloria sat down with her tea and checked her phone again. Her finger hovered over the Photos app before tapping it open. The first image on her screen nearly made her spill her tea. It was a new post. Lacey, smiling, holding Braden close with one arm and throwing up a peace sign with the other. Travis stood behind them, beer in hand as always. In the background was the her van parked in their driveway with a big red bow slapped on the hood like some car dealership commercial. The caption read, "Thanks, Mom, for the wheels. We earned it. Number family first, number blessed." No tag, no warning, just a statement carved in entitlement. Gloria stared at the screen. The post had 6 likes already. One of them from someone she didn't recognize. She took a screenshot, saved it to her phone, and forwarded it to Elliot without comment. Then she turned off the lights. The next morning, while the sun barely stretched across the shutters, her phone buzzed again. She reached for it, expecting more noise, more fakery. But the name made her pause. Braden Henson. A direct message. She opened it, saw what Dad did. "I'm sorry." Just that. No emojis, no excuses, just one clean line. She stared at the message for a long while, thumb hovering over the reply. But she didn't type back. Not yet. Instead, she slid the phone face down on the kitchen table, picked up her walker, and started making coffee. She had a title to reclaim. The sky was a bruised gray when Sharon pulled up in her cherry-red Prius, coffee in hand and music low. Gloria eased into the passenger seat with her walker folded tight against her knees. She wore her softest coat and her coldest expression. "You sure you want to do this in daylight?" Sharon asked, eyeing her over the lid of her travel mug. "Could have waited till nightfall. I got blackout tint." Gloria didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the road ahead like it owed her something. "He took it in broad daylight," she said. "Seems fitting." They drove in silence for a few miles, passing sun-faded lawns and sagging porch swings until they turned into a gravel lot behind a small, corrugated metal building. Lenora's custom and collision-the kind of place most folks passed without noticing unless their bumper was dragging. Inside, the garage was dim, the scent of oil and steel heavy in the air. Lenora wiped her hands on a rag and lifted her goggles the moment they stepped through the office door. "Well, look what the wind finally blew back," she said. "Or did Sharon drag you?" "I walked out. Sharon just rolled the wheels," Gloria replied, handing over the file folder from her purse. Lenora flipped it. Open spare key, title, active registration, even a sticky note from Elliot with the DMV case number. After a beat, she grinned. "Yep, still yours. Every nut and bolt." Gloria exhaled for the first time in days. Let's bring her home. By the time they pulled up in Sharon's car, Travis's driveway was empty. His Dodge pickup was gone, probably at the bar or pawn shop, wherever men like him felt most validated. The van sat quiet, shaded under the skeletal oak tree, its windshield winking with fallen leaves. Sharon cracked her window and whispered, "You want me to slash the tires next time?" Gloria smirked. "Not yet." Lenora's flatbed pulled up 15 minutes later. They worked like a pit crew quick, methodical, silent. Gloria stood off to the side, watching her old van being winched up like it had never left her. Sharon kept lookout. No one came out. Not Lacey, not Braden, just the wind rustling the brittle lawn and a dog barking somewhere down the block. As Lenora tightened the last strap, Gloria stepped closer and ran her hand along the driver's door. Dust clung to her palm, warm under the sun. "It still smells like peppermint and leather," she murmured. "Because you're the only one who ever cared enough to clean it," Lenora muttered, snapping the ratchet. Just as the truck turned toward the road, a curtain twitched in the second-floor window. Braden, hoodie up, face half lit by screen glow. He didn't wave. He didn't stop them. But he didn't run outside either. That was enough. Back at Gloria's house, Lenora eased the van into the garage like she was tucking in a child. Sharon leaned against the wall, arms folded, eyes glinting with pride. "You want me to install a wheel lock? Or maybe a security camera pointed straight at the front tires?" Sharon asked, only half joking. Gloria shook her head. "I want to breathe for a minute." The moment was quiet, peaceful even, the kind of quiet that didn't demand apology or permission. Then Gloria's phone vibrated in her coat pocket. She pulled it out slowly, already guessing who it would be. Lacey Henson. Incoming call. She let it ring twice before answering. "Did you report it stolen?" Lacey's voice was sharp, frantic, layered with fake confusion. "No," Gloria said, voice flat. "I took it home. You can't just—" "I didn't just anything. The title was never yours." Click. No goodbye. Just the sound of silence and a line cut clean. Gloria placed the phone back in her pocket like she'd just folded away a lie. That night, as she sipped tea in her recliner with the garage door locked tight, a loud ping echoed from her phone. New alert. Vehicle report attempt logged, law enforcement notification triggered. Travis had tried to report it stolen. The knock came hard, 3 heavy raps on the front door that echoed through Gloria's quiet house like a gavel. She didn't flinch. She was already dressed, already waiting. Through the peephole, she saw the black uniform, the gleam of the badge, the notepad tucked in one hand. She opened the door slowly, the morning sun spilling onto the floor behind her. "Ma'am," the officer began, a young man with polite eyes and a taut jaw. "We got a report from a Mr. Travis Henson regarding a stolen vehicle. A Dodge van. License ending in 329-1. Gloria didn't smile, didn't blink. She stepped aside and gestured toward the dining table. "Come in," she said. "I've got the paperwork." The officer removed his hat as he entered, boots respectful on the old hardwood. Gloria walked slowly to the desk by the window, her cane ticking softly with each step. She opened a folder labeled in crisp pen. Property documentation, Gloria M. Henson. She handed him 3 items in order, the title with her name still listed as owner, the DMV record printout Elliot had mailed her, and the original gifting document unsigned, unstamped, and never mailed. She added the cherry on top herself. "And the spare key? Never left my house." The officer looked over each page carefully, flipping, checking the VIN against his notes. Then he glanced up. "This isn't theft," he said, voice neutral but clear. "It's a family dispute." Gloria gave him a look as sharp as cut glass. "Not anymore." He hesitated, then nodded. "Understood. I'll file the case as resolved. No criminal activity." As he walked back down the steps, Gloria stood on her porch, spine straight, watching the patrol car disappear down the block. That's when Lacey's SUV screeched to a halt in front of her house. The door flew open before the engine stopped running. Lacey stormed out in leggings, smeared mascara, and a tangled bun rage barely restrained behind cheap sunglasses. "You psychotic old woman!" she screamed. "You're not going to get away with this! You gave it to us! You signed it!" "I didn't file it," Gloria replied calmly, not moving from her porch. "You manipulative?" But before Lacey could climb the first step, a voice sliced through the chaos like a blade. "You step 1 foot on this porch and I'll lay you out." Lenora. She emerged from Gloria's side yard, gloves still on, grease-stained jeans, and a wrench in her hand like it was part of her arm. Lacey froze. Gloria reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out her phone. "I think this conversation is over," she said. "But my attorney might still be open." Back inside, Gloria closed the door on Lacey's snarling voice and called Elliot. "Lock the ownership," she said, no pleasantries. "Permanently." That afternoon, Elliot confirmed via email. Vehicle flagged from further transfer attempts for 6 months. No changes allowed without owner in person with notarized ID. Full block approved. She printed the email and slid it into her folder. When the sun dipped low and shadows lengthened across the living room, Gloria moved slowly toward the garage. She keyed in the code, and the door yawned open with its familiar hum. The air inside smelled faintly of dust, rubber, and peppermint still clinging to the fabric of the seats like a memory. She stood there a long time, hand on the hood. Then she whispered, as though speaking to something alive, something loyal. "You're mine again. Let's drive." The pen felt heavier this time. Gloria sat across from Elliot in the wood-paneled office that smelled faintly of lemon oil and old files. The light from the desk lamp gleamed off the page in front of her, illuminating 2 columns of names, one being crossed out, the other left bare for now. "You're sure?" Elliot asked, his voice soft but anchored. "Removing Travis and Lacey entirely means there's no fallback if Aiden declines the conditions." Gloria looked at him squarely. "That boy's the only one who ever said sorry. That's more than the other 2 did in 15 years. She leaned forward and signed her name in clean, deliberate strokes. The paper crackled as Elliot turned the page to the next clause. "Braden's conditional access," he said, nodding at the wording. "No distribution unless he completes high school, stays arrest, free until 21, and initiates no claims against your estate. Then he earns it," Gloria said. "Not before." By the time the notary stamped the documents, something new settled into Gloria's chestnut joy. Not bitterness, something more dangerous, relief. Back at home, she moved fast. Travis had always been slow to notice the locks, changing financial or otherwise. She sat at her laptop and logged into her bank's portal. Her cursor hovered over the auto pay tab, heart beating steadier with each click. There, listed in the monthly schedule, were Travis's utility bills, a gas card for Lacey's SUV, and a joint grocery account she hadn't used in 2 years. She clicked cancel on every single one. The screen blinked. Confirmed. "Done?" Sharon asked from across the kitchen, sipping her tea like a coach waiting for the game to end. "Almost." They drove to the bank in silence. Gloria walked up to the teller with her chin high and her list ready. "I'd like to close and reissue any accounts that list authorized access under Travis or Lacey Henson," she said without flinching. The teller blinked, hesitated. "Would you like to verify your online credentials, ma'am?" "No need," Gloria said, sliding her phone forward. "Already locked them out. Just need the paper trail finished." 15 minutes later, she walked out with a cashier's check and a new account number. Sharon opened the car door for her like a chauffeur. "Never thought revenge would look like bookkeeping," she muttered. "It's not revenge," Gloria replied, folding her coat with precision. "It's eviction. From my peace." Later that night, as the streetlights flickered to life, Gloria's phone pinged with a bank alert. "Access attempt from unverified device. Denied. IP traced to Tulsa. Okay." She knew exactly whose kitchen that IP belonged to. She opened her messaging app, typed slowly, and sent it with a dry smile. "Gloria. Hope the free gas card still works. It's expired." The dots never moved on Lacey's side. No reply. 3 days later, Elliot came to the house to deliver the finalized trust documents in person. He preferred these moments sealed in real presence. "It's all done," he said, handing her the sleek folder. "You've secured everything. Van, home, estate. And the trust language is bulletproof." Gloria placed the folder beside her cup of tea and nodded once. "Let them chase the shadow of what they thought they owned. I'll be here enjoying the light." Before he left, Elliot paused at the door. "You did this with no shouting. No courtroom. Just paperwork." "That's the part they never understood," Gloria said. "You don't have to raise your voice when your name's already on the deed." That evening, she stepped outside for air. The breeze was light, warm enough to make the porch boards creak softly beneath her slippers. She hadn't heard from Lacey in days, until now. A thick white envelope was shoved into her mailbox, no stamp, just her name typed on the front. She opened it carefully. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded crisply in thirds, typed, center aligned. "You're breaking this family. Hope you're proud." No name, no signature, but she didn't need one. She folded it neatly, slid it into her shredder, and listened to the paper disappear tooth by tooth. The banging on her screen door rattled the glass like it owed him money. Gloria didn't rush. She moved with the same deliberate steadiness she always did on hand on her cane, the other cradling the chipped ceramic mug filled to the brim with hot black coffee. She made it to the kitchen window, eased the curtain aside, and took in the scene like she was checking on weather. Travis stood on her porch in a wrinkled hoodie, arms crossed tight, jaw working like he was chewing rocks. She didn't open the door. "Really, Mom?" he yelled. "You're not even going to answer your own son." Gloria set her mug on the counter, smoothed her sweater flat, and unlocked the door just enough to speak through the screen. "You're on the porch," she said. "That's far enough." He threw his hands up. "You gonna act like I'm a stranger now?" She didn't reply. Silence had more weight than anything she could have said. "I've done more for you than anyone else in this damn family. And you pull this stunt? You cut us off? Take the van back? What? You think you're proving something?" "I'm proving I'm not dead," she said evenly. "That seems to be a surprise." Travis scoffed, shaking his head. "You've lost your mind." "No," she said. "I just finally stopped giving it to people who didn't earn it." And with that, she closed the door. Not a slam, just a firm click that sounded final. She didn't look through the window as his truck peeled away, gravel spitting into her flower bed. She poured herself a second cup and carried it to the porch, where Sharon already sat in the rocker, a tin of lemon cookies between them. "Your son needs a hobby," Sharon muttered, fishing out a cookie. "He has one," Gloria said. Entitlement. 2 hours passed in gentle quiet, the neighborhood hum broken only by the sound of a lawnmower sputtering to life. Gloria squinted toward the curb. Brayden. He was pushing the mower across her patchy grass, headphones in, oversized hoodie nearly swallowing him. He didn't look up until he reached the fence line, where he killed the engine and turned toward the porch. "I can edge next week if you want," he said, a little sheepish. "I just figured it needed doing." "Come inside when you're done," Gloria called back. "We'll make sandwiches." It wasn't forgiveness. It was a thread. Later, as they sat at the table ham, mustard, no drama, Brayden wiped his hands and asked, "What's in that shed out back?" "Old family junk," she said. "Why?" "I saw boxes labeled photo albums. I kinda want to scan them. For like backup." Gloria studied him. He wasn't fidgeting. He meant it. "Keys are hanging by the laundry room," she said. "Don't take anything out. Just look." That night, as the cicadas buzzed like tired batteries, and the porch light cast long yellow shadows, Gloria opened her laptop. Travis had been busy. Post 1. Some people just love power trips. Sad when your own blood forgets who held their walker for years. Post 2. Funny how elders love to play victim when they're the ones pulling strings. Post 3. Won't be silent anymore. Legal help incoming. Gloria took screenshots of each one, dated and time-stamped, and sent them directly to Elliot with a note. "Add to file. Character pattern emerging." The reply was immediate. "Understood. Logged." She shut the laptop with precision. The next morning, the mailbox held a thick envelope with official seals and fine print across the top. State of Oklahoma, notice of petition. Subject, Elder Financial Abuse. Filed by Travis Henson. Date, effective immediately. Gloria stood at the mailbox, envelope open in her hands, the morning light painting her in gold. She didn't blink, didn't curse, just took a breath, deep and clean. The envelope sat on Elliot's desk like a dare. Gloria didn't look at it right away. She let her coffee cool, her breath settle, her spine stiffen. "You ready?" Elliot asked. Gloria nodded. "He thinks paperwork bends the truth. I came with proof." She opened her tote and laid out a neat row of files, each one labeled in tight black pen. Van title, unsigned, monthly support records, canceled auto pays, bank transfers, 2018, 2023. Elliot flipped through each document with the calm of a man who knew the weight of evidence. "You kept all this?" "I kept quiet," Gloria said. "That doesn't mean I kept blind." On his second pass through the stack, Elliot paused at the DMV transaction log. "This here seals it. Title was never processed. Registration still in your name. No transfer, no theft." He slipped on his reading glasses and underlined 3 lines in red. "Gift intention doesn't override actual record. His claim won't survive an hour." Gloria exhaled through her nose. Not relief, not yet. Just the patience of someone who'd outlived worse storms. That afternoon, they submitted the formal response packet. Affidavit, notarized rebuttal. When Gloria stood to leave, Elliot stopped her. You want a counterfile? He asked gently. She shook her head. Let him swing at shadows. I'm not stepping in the ring. Back at home, the wind had picked up, whipping dry leaves across her porch like gossip trying to scatter. She was barely through the front door when her phone buzzed. Text from Braden. I heard Dad yelling. He's losing it. She tapped the speaker icon and brought the phone to her ear. Tell me the truth, Braden, she said. What exactly did he say? There was a pause. Then Braden spoke, low and unsure. He was on the phone with someone. Maybe a lawyer? Said you manipulated the accounts. That you tricked him into thinking the van was his. Said he should have known better than to trust someone who keeps files like an auditor. Gloria gave a dry chuckle. I kept those files because I knew he wouldn't. Another pause. Then Braden, quietly. You okay? I'm cleaner than I've ever been, Gloria replied. And that scares him more than anything. By midweek, the answer came. Elliot called while she was watering the azaleas out front. Case has been tossed, he said without preamble. Court clerk refused to docket it, cited lack of merit and supporting documentation. His lawyer withdrew. Gloria turned the hose off slowly, the plastic nozzle clicking under her palm. Thank you, she said. You did the heavy lifting, Elliot replied. I just highlighted the truth. That night, she sat on the porch with a glass of cold peach tea and the evening sky blooming orange over the neighbor's roof. Sharon waved from across the street, holding up a plate of lemon bars. Gloria waved back. The phone buzzed again. New voicemail. Unknown number. She tapped it open, thumb hovering over the speaker. Lacey's voice slithered through. You think you're clever, Gloria? You think we don't know what you're doing? The banks are locking us out and you think you're safe behind that little password wall? Don't be so sure. People slip up. Systems break. And IP addresses don't lie. The voice ended with a click knot, a hang-up, a threat. Gloria's hand didn't shake. She opened her banking app and tapped the notification center. Alert. Unauthorized login attempt blocked. Device ID flagged. Location. Tulsa. Okay. Linked IP. L. Henson. Mobile. Status. Locked and flagged for fraud. She stared at the screen. Then tapped. Forward to legal. Added Elliot's email. Added a note. Next move is hers. Mine's already made. She locked her phone, set it beside the tea, and leaned back into the wooden rocker. The porch didn't flinch. The sun hadn't even cracked the horizon when Gloria was dressed, upright, and out the door. No limp today. Not because the pain wasn't there, because she didn't have time for it. She arrived at the bank just before the doors unlocked, standing with a steel cane and a folder thick with paperwork. Her breath fogged the glass. Her reflection stared back. A woman they'd mistaken for finished. By 9:10 a.m., Gloria had shut down every account in her name. Not one password reset. Not one phone call. A total migration. Let's close them all, she said to the banker. A young woman named Morgan with kind eyes and a wary glance at Gloria's tightly packed folder. All of them? Morgan asked. Gloria opened the folder and slid a page across the desk. A printed log of every unauthorized login attempt in the last 30 days. You tell me, should I keep trusting the old system? 30 minutes later, she walked out with a cashier's check in one hand and a fireproof envelope in the other. And a grin small, sharp, earned. The air smelled like cut grass and gasoline as Sharon pulled up in her Subaru. Get in, Gloria, she called out, pushing the passenger door open. Tell me we're not robbing a bank. Just robbing regret, Gloria said, folding herself into the seat. Their next stop was Elliot's office. Inside, Gloria laid the check on the desk like a bet in a poker game. Split it, she said. Half into a new trust, half into a certificate for Braden. But don't release anything until he turns 21. If he earns it. Elliot's brows rose slightly, but he nodded. Conditions? She handed him a slip of paper with 2 handwritten lines. No unauthorized access to my assets. Must remain in contact on my terms, not Travis's. I'll draft the documents this afternoon, Elliot said. You're sure about the cutoff? If you hand over a torch too soon, Gloria replied. All they do is set fire to you with it. As they left the office, Sharon nudged her. That's how you pass it, huh? With a fuse and a filter? Gloria chuckled. That's how you pass it without burning down what's left. The next call Gloria made wasn't to Elliot. It was to ShredSafe Mobile Services. By that evening, a white truck with a roaring engine sat outside her home, and every shared document bearing Travis or Lacey's name fed, one page at a time, into the industrial-grade shredder. Deed copies, medical proxies, bank statements, every signature they'd ever made in her space reduced to confetti. She stood beside the truck with arms crossed as the machine hummed, spitting out ribbons of a life she no longer owed anyone. "I didn't think paper could scream," Sharon muttered beside her. Gloria didn't respond. She just watched the last page vanish Lacey's old emergency contact form and let the noise fill the silence her family used to occupy. Later, back inside, Braden tapped on her door. He held out his phone, an app open. "You want to know what they're saying about you?" he asked softly. "I've got alerts set. I can flag their posts." Gloria studied his face, still too young to have seen this much unraveling, still watching her, like he didn't want to blink and miss what strength looked like. She reached for the phone, then stopped. "No," she said. "Let them talk. I'd rather build than chase." Braden nodded. "Still, I'll keep the alerts on, just in case." She looked at him for a long moment, then said, "Thank you, but don't ever let someone else's noise become your soundtrack." He smiled tight, real, respectful. Just before bedtime, Gloria checked her inbox. New email. Vehicle title, Request Notification Department of Motor Vehicles. Her eyes narrowed. Duplicate title application received. L. Henson requesting reissue of van title. Fraudulent, illegal, and foolish. She clicked Report Issue, then dialed Elliot's number without hesitatio. N. The voicemail picked up. She left one line. She tried to take it again. "Call me back before I make it permanent." The email stared back at her like a dare. Gloria didn't blink. Duplicate title application. Initiator, L. Henson. Status, pending fraud review. She clicked the report fraud link and began typing. Slow and precise, every word a nail sealing a box she was no longer afraid to close. She uploaded the original title image. The date. The DMV receipt with the transfer canceled stamp. Her affidavit from Elliot. She paused, then added one final file. A photo of her walker in the grass, tire tracks next to it. Then she hit submit. By noon, the phone rang. "This is Maria Diaz with the Oklahoma DMV Fraud Division. May I speak with Gloria Henson?" Gloria adjusted her shawl and set her tea down gently. "Speaking. We've received your report. Based on your documentation, we're escalating the matter to state review. I do need a notarized statement from your legal representative." "I'll have it within the hour," Gloria said, already reaching for her landline. Elliot answered before the first ring finished. She tried to retitle the van in her name. Gloria said without pleasantries. "I figured she might. I've got the full timeline ready to fax title history, the unsigned form, and your current registration. Want me to include the Walker text too?" "Yes," Gloria said coldly. "Let the state see exactly what her family values sound like." 30 minutes later, Elliot confirmed the file had been received. "They'll flag her license," he added. "If she tries to register or transfer anything now, she'll be blocked until the investigation clears." "Let it drag," Gloria replied. "Let her feel what I did. Days of not knowing what you still own." Word traveled fast in Tulsa, but faster in tight neighborhoods with wider windows. That evening, as Gloria watered her mint and rosemary pots, she saw the cruiser pull up 2 doors downright in front of Travis and Lacey's house. The flashing lights weren't on, but the damage didn't need a siren. An officer in plain clothes knocked. Lacey answered. Gloria couldn't hear the words, but she watched the moment Lacey's posture broke, arms crossing, voice rising, finger pointing. She wasn't arrested. Not yet, but she was handed a packet. By the time the cruiser pulled away, Lacey's face was red and streaked with heat. Not tears, just embarrassment she couldn't aim anywhere useful. The next day, Gloria sat quietly on her porch, feeding peanuts to the crows that had grown used to her stillness. Travis stormed up the path like a bull with nowhere to charge. "You happy now?" he barked. "You called the cops on your own family." Gloria didn't move. "No, Travis. I reported fraud. The cops came on their own." He stepped closer. "You think Braden's not telling us everything you're doing? You think he's not the one giving you dirt on us? Gloria finally turned her eyes to him. You think the only way someone could side with me is if they were manipulated. Maybe that's why you never earned his. Travis clenched his jaw. You're poisoning him. No, she said, standing slowly, the cane steady in her palm. I'm unpoisoning the legacy you tried to inherit by force. As if summoned by the temperature shift, Lenora's truck turned the corner and rolled to a stop at the curb. She didn't even kill the engine before stepping out and crossing her arms on Gloria's lawn. You're on her porch again? She called out. You were told not to come here uninvited. It's my mother, Travis shouted. Not by law anymore, Gloria said calmly. She stepped inside, retrieved the envelope Elliot had sent earlier, and returned with it in hand. This is a trespass affidavit, Travis, she said, holding it up. Filed with Tulsa County this morning. You or your wife step foot on my property again. You'll be escorted off with more than words. He stared at her, stunned. No bluff this time, no plea. Just the silence of someone who finally realized the porch had shifted out from under them. You'd really do this? He asked. I already did. She shut the door behind her before he could answer. The key turned with a soft click. The engine hummed low and steady, like it had just been waiting for her hand again. Gloria exhaled through her nose, the sound barely audible under the purr of the van. The garage door creaked open, sunlight flooding the hood like a benediction. She gripped the wheel. The leather was smooth, warm from the morning heat. It felt like something familiar, like a story she'd stopped reading. Not one she'd forgotten how to tell. Her foot eased onto the pedal. The van rolled forward, crossing over the lip of the driveway, and just like that, Gloria was driving again. No passenger, no permission, just her. She took the long way out of the neighborhood, each bump in the pavement sparking memories like static electricity. She passed the elementary school first, the one where she'd worked as an aide for 15 years. The faded blue swings still tilted sideways in the Oklahoma wind. A group of kids chased a soccer ball across the grass. She slowed down at the four-way stop. A crossing guard waved. She nodded back, eyes misting. Then came the diner. Darlene's, still there, still with the burnt-out E flickering like it had something to say. It was the booth by the jukebox where she and Walter had their first coffee. He spilled cream. She laughed too loud. They stayed until the waitress turned the chairs up on the tables. Gloria pulled into the lot, turned off the ignition, just sat for a moment, breathing in the scent of sun-warmed vinyl and faint lavender from the car freshener Braden hung up months ago. She didn't need to go in. The memory was enough. A knock on the passenger window startled her. It was Rita wearing a bold orange tank top, sunglasses that looked too expensive, and a grin sharp enough to slice bread. Well, I'll be damned, she said as Gloria lowered the window. You're back behind the wheel. Never really left, Gloria replied, lips tugging into something close to a smile. Just let others think I had. Rita whistled. You driving this thing all the way to Vegas or just back to Sanity? Sanity's closer, Gloria said, though the odds are better in Vegas. They laughed. Gloria promised coffee soon. Rita saluted as she walked back to her own car, still grinning like someone who'd just watched a woman rebirth herself with a steering wheel. That night, when Gloria got home, a folded note was waiting on her kitchen table. Plain. No envelope. Just her name on the front in Braden's careful handwriting. Teach me to cook sometime? She stared at it longer than she should have. The words weren't just a request, they were an offering, an unprompted bridge. She pressed the note to her chest. Finally, she whispered, smiling. A recipe worth passing down. Before she could sit, the mail caught her eye. A pale yellow envelope, stamped from the DMV. She opened it with one clean slice of a pairing. Notification of action. Driver license suspension. Licensee. Lacey Henson. Reason. Suspected title fraud. Pending case ID. Number 54,739, Tull. Gloria read it once, then again. Then she folded it neatly, slid it into her drawer marked Closed Doors, and turned out the kitchen light. Tomorrow, she'd teach Braden how to season a cast-iron skillet. Tonight, she'd sleep like a woman whose roads belonged to her again. The photo was raw, unedited, no filters, just the facts laid bare. Her walker, dirt-streaked and tilted sideways in the grass. The title, unsigned, fanned out in her papery hand like a silent verdict, and the van resting in the cool blue light of her garage like it had finally come home. Gloria stared at the screen for a long moment before tapping post. Caption. I gave them a gift. They threw me. So I walked home and took it all back. She didn't tag anyone. Didn't have to. Tulsa wasn't that big, and the community Facebook group had more eyes than the local paper ever did. She closed the laptop and poured herself a cup of reheated coffee, letting the bitter steam bloom under her nose. By the time she made it to the front window, the comments were already rolling in. Rita. Gloria, you're a legend. I remember when that boy used to beg for your peach cobbler. Sharon. About time you said it plain. We've all seen how they treated you. Janice W. My daughter just screenshotted this. She said, "This is what strength looks like." Gloria didn't reply to any of them. She just watched, quietly, like someone sitting on their own porch as the street cleaned itself. A ding came through Messenger. Brayden. You said it better than I ever could. Then a single blue heart. She leaned back, feeling the tightness in her chest release, not in tears but in breath, in stillness, in something settling. That evening, she opened her inbox out of habit and noticed something new. 3 people had shared the post to their own timelines. One of them had added, "Why elders stop visiting isn't always about age. Sometimes it's about how they're received." Another, "Tulsa families, pay attention. This is happening more than we admit." Travis unfriended her around 7 p.m. Lacey's account vanished entirely by 8:15. She could picture him seething, pacing, trying to craft some defense that wouldn't look like exactly what it was. Lacey likely smashing wine glasses in the kitchen, hissing that Gloria wasn't supposed to talk. But the thing about silence, it doesn't mean compliance. Sometimes it's just preparation. At 9:42 p.m., there was a knock at her door. Not hard, not frantic, just deliberate. She opened it halfway, keeping the chain latch in place. A woman stood there, notepad in one hand, press badge clipped to her shirt collar. "Miss Henson." Gloria's voice was even. "Yes? I'm Maggie from the Tulsa Times. I saw your post. Half the city has, honestly. Would you be open to sharing your story? In print?" Gloria didn't answer right away. She looked past the woman to her driveway, where the van sat like a quiet sentinel under the dusk sky. She looked at the porch swing, where she used to rock Brayden to sleep when his parents forgot to pick him up. She looked down at her own hand steady now, despite everything. "Only if you bring a good pen," she said. "This isn't just a story, it's a correction." The recorder clicked on with a soft beep. The reporter Maggie from the Tulsa Times leaned in slightly. Eyes gentle, pen poised. "We're calling it When You're Not Too Old to Own Everything," she said. "That okay with you?" Gloria smiled, a slow pull of her lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Sounds about right." They sat in Gloria's living room. Afternoon light slanting across the floral rug, illuminating dust that spun in quiet circles near the windows. The van sat parked just outside in its usual spot. Brayden had washed it that morning, without being asked. Maggie adjusted her mic. "Let's start simple. What made you post that photo?" Gloria looked down at her hands, folded in her lap like pages she hadn't turned in years. "It wasn't about the van. Not really. It was about being told by blood, no less, that I was no longer worth the visit unless I could drag myself there. That changes something in your spine. Was there a moment it snapped into focus for you?" She nodded slowly. "When he threw my walker. Not tossed, threw. And my daughter-in-law laughed like it was sport. That was it." Maggie scribbled quickly but didn't interrupt. "I'd given them everything they asked for," Gloria continued, voice steady. "The vehicle. Help with groceries. A little extra each Christmas so Brayden wouldn't feel their bitterness. But it's never just about what you give, is it? It's about what they feel entitled to. And when you stop handing it over, they treat it like theft." There was silence, thick but respectful. The story went live the next day. Front page of the Tulsa Times digital edition. A photo of Gloria seated calmly at her kitchen table, one hand on her old walker, the other holding the unsigned title document like scripture. The headline, "When You're Not Too Old to Own Everything, How One Tulsa Woman Took Back Her Name, Her Van, and Her Voice." The comments came like rain. Maggie L10. "My mom cried reading this. Thank you, Gloria." Ronnie's. I work in adult protective services. This happens way more than people think. Patsy, 77. Can she speak at our senior center? We need this. The article didn't just land, it settled. Found its way into inboxes, group chats, printed on church bulletin boards. It turned quiet heads at PTA meetings and made certain types of adult children shift uncomfortably in their ergonomic chairs. 2 days later, Gloria's phone buzzed mid-morning. Elliot, just read the article aloud to one of my other clients. She wept, said you gave her permission to stop apologizing for still being alive. Gloria, you've got power now, not pity. She sat with that a while. Not pity. Later that week, Braden swung by with a cheap tripod and a slightly cracked tablet. He didn't say much, just started setting it up at the end of her kitchen counter. Gloria raised an eyebrow. What's that? He looked sheepish. You ever think about recording your stories? Recipes too. Maybe a YouTube thing. You could help people and still be heard. Are you volunteering as cameraman? Braden shrugged, then nodded. Just don't ask me to be in it. She chuckled. You already are. That night, she received an email from the Tulsa Council on Aging. Subject: Nomination confirmed. Community impact. Recognition 2025. She blinked. Read it again. Her story hadn't just gone publicit, had grown legs, walked right into rooms she'd never been invited to before, and pulled out a seat with her name on it. The pen slid across the page like a blade quiet, final, deliberate. Gloria didn't rush. She paused after every signature line, letting her breath settle between them like punctuation. The attorney's office was silent, except for the rhythmic click of Elliot's keyboard and the soft hum of a wall clock ticking above the bookshelf. No music, no small talk, just consequence unfolding. Braden sat across the table, his hands resting on his knees, jaw tight with things he didn't know how to ask. Would you like to read it before I seal it? Elliot asked, sliding the last page forward. I already did, Gloria said. Her voice was low but anchored. I wrote most of it myself. She pushed the pen toward Braden. Your name's in here now, contingent ownership of the house, the van, and a few other things. Braden blinked. Me? Gloria turned slightly, giving him a look he recognized more than understood equal parts, affection and boundary. You listened. That's more than the rest of them ever did. He didn't respond right away, just nodded, slowly, like something in him had caught up. Travis and Lacey were nowhere in the document. Not a line, not a clause, not even a footnote. Elliot sealed it in a red folder, crisp and unyielding, then slid it into a fireproof box with deliberate precision. Gloria reached in and tucked a handwritten note between the folds. The envelope read, You only get what you don't abuse. She snapped the latch shut. Outside, Tulsa's sun was throwing down heavy, light-hot, dry, honest. Sharon pulled up in her little white Civic with a bakery box in the passenger seat and a smirk that meant trouble. She didn't knock, just breezed in like she always had. Brought cupcakes. Didn't bake 'em myself. I'm not legally allowed to operate ovens anymore, but they're from Connie's on 11th. She said you deserved frosting. Gloria opened the box and inhaled. Buttercream and cinnamon. Smells like poor impulse control. Sharon winked. So, how's freedom taste? Gloria peeled back a liner and took a bite. Moist, she said, chewing. And overdue. They laughed harder than the joke called for. It was the kind of laugh that took the edge off a long silence. The kind that made you lean back in your chair and remember you had a spine. Later that afternoon, Gloria sat by her front window with a glass of iced tea, watching the shadows stretch across her trimmed hedges. The air held the hum of late summer heat, and somewhere down the block, a kid's sprinkler hissed against the curb. Her phone buzzed with a new email. Subject: Fraud case determination. From Oklahoma DMV Office of Investigations. She opened it with a single tap. Following review of the evidence and submitted documents, including vehicle title, history, communication logs, and notarized estate records, we find that no ownership rights were ever legally transferred from Gloria Henson. No further action is required. Case closed. She didn't smile. She didn't sigh. She simply placed the phone face down on the table and reached for her tea. Across the room, the fireproof box sat quietly under the hallway shelf, gleaming like a small vault full of closure. Twilight was beginning to drape the neighborhood when Gloria heard the soft knock. Not urgent, not aggressive, just unexpected. She opened the front door and looked down. A plain cardboard box sat on the welcome mat. No label, no note, just taped edges and faint dirt smudges. She crouched with difficulty, knees aching from the day's errand sand, peeled the top open. Inside, neatly coiled in a loop of bubble wrap, sat her old walker. The same one Travis had hurled into the grass not long ago. The rubber on one handle was still scuffed. A single dent along the frame hadn't been repaired. It had come back, quietly, without apology. But she didn't need one. The final click didn't echo, but it settled in her chest like the quiet thud of a door sealed forever. Gloria stared at her phone. Travis's number. "Block this caller?" it asked, as if the device didn't understand the decades behind that question. She tapped. Yes. No hesitation. No second thought. Lacey's number came next. The same one that once sent fake check-in texts, usually with a cheerful exclamation mark and a hint of obligation. "How you holding up, Mom? Need groceries?" Block. She exhaled slowly, the way one does after a funeral. Then she walked across her living room, each step more deliberate than the last. The hall still held its usual hush. The wallpaper faded from too many summers, too many Tulsa heat waves, too many years when her house was just a resting stop for people who wanted her resources, not her presence. On the wall hung the last photo Travis at 25, Lacey in her pink maternity shirt, Braden, a baby with fists raised like he was already defending himself. Gloria lifted the frame from its nail. The dust left behind didn't surprise her. She set the picture on the hallway table, then replaced it with a new frame and Sharon, cheeks pressed together, laughing over matching mugs of hazelnut coffee, crow's feet, lipstick teeth, real joy. That photo hadn't been taken for anyone. That's what made it worthy. "Everything in this house now," Gloria whispered to no one, "has to earn its stay." Later that afternoon, Elliot arrived in slacks and his usual storm gray blazer, a man who made legality feel like both armor and poetry. He didn't waste time. "Here's the draft of the cease and desist," he said, handing her a manila envelope. "We'll file it with both the county and their email service providers. If they contact you again in any form, you forward it to me." Gloria scanned the top line. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Henson, you are hereby formally instructed to cease all personal communication." She looked up. "Permanent?" He nodded. "And enforceable." Gloria slid the letter into her desk drawer and locked it, the same drawer where old birthday cards and blank checks from Travis used to live. Braden stopped by later with a USB stick and a half-mumbled greeting. "Copied the old family photos for you. Figured you might want digital backups." Gloria nodded. "Thank you, baby." He lingered, unsure where the line was now. "You still want me to come by next weekend? I could. Help you repot the jasmine?" She reached out and touched his hand, not gripping, not pulling, just letting it rest there. "Only if you want to. Not out of guilt. Not because they won't." He smiled, eyes soft. "I want to." That was enough. The following morning, Gloria pulled into the local market in her van. The sun was already climbing high, and the scent of dry asphalt mixed with ripening peaches from the roadside produce bin. She moved slower than she used to, but her steps were hers, now without anyone rolling their eyes behind her back or rushing her into silence. "Miss Henson?" a voice called from the curb. She turned. A woman from the community board waved with a grocery bag in one arm. "Loved your story. You're braver than half the councilmen in this city." Gloria smiled. "I just outweighted the noise." Inside the store, Rita stood near the deli, leaning on a cart like a queen with a chariot. "Well, well," she grinned. "Thought they tried to age you out." Gloria lifted a pack of sharp cheddar and raised an eyebrow. "They did. And I outlived the nonsense." The two women laughed, heads tilted together like girls at a sleepover, and it made the cashier grin without knowing why. By the time Gloria got home, the sun had turned soft again, hanging low over the driveway. She walked up the front steps and paused, reaching into her bag. The decal was small, just black letters on a clear strip of vinyl. She peeled the back and pressed it just beneath the brass knocker. Not fragile, just done being mishandled. She stood back, looked at it, let it settle. The ignition turned over with a soft rumble, like a memory waking up on its own terms. Gloria sat in the passenger seat this time. The sun filtered in through the windshield, slicing clean lines across the dashboard. Outside, the Oklahoma morning was still a breeze brushing the tips of the grass, a dog barking 2 houses over. But inside the van, time bent just enough for something new. Braden gripped the steering wheel too tightly. His leg jittered over the gas pedal. "You're not landing a plane," Gloria said dryly, adjusting her seatbelt. "Ease into it." He let out a breath and smiled, half embarrassed. "Right. Okay." The van lurched as he released the brake and pressed too fast. Gloria's body tipped forward, but she made no sound. She just rested her hand on the dash like she was greeting an old friend. "You always this patient with your students?" Braden asked, turning the wheel too early. "Only the ones that didn't throw my walker into a lawn," she replied. He winced, but didn't argue. They rolled through the neighborhood at 10 miles an hour. The houses passed in rows, some chipped and sagging, others proudly holding up fresh coats of paint. An old man waved from a rocking chair on his porch. Gloria waved back, 2 fingers raised. "Where to?" Braden asked. "Left at the next stop sign. You'll know." They passed her old church, the school where she'd worked part-time after her husband passed, the corner store with the squeaky sign where she used to buy Braden peanut clusters, even after Lacey said no candy before dinner. Each place held a stitch in her life known of them glamorous, but all of them earned. "You remember when you were 5 and asked me what a carburetor did?" she said suddenly. Braden laughed. "Yeah. You said, 'It does what it needs to until it doesn't,' like people." She chuckled. "Still true." They looped down Walnut Drive. The pavement cracked but familiar. The van didn't purr like it used to, but it held steady, solid, like the woman who reclaimed it. Braden eased them into a wide parking lot behind an old feed store. No one around. Just the 2 of them and the sound of cicadas rising like static in the background. He let the wheel rest. "I get it now." "Get what?" "You didn't walk away from them. You walked forward." She looked at him, really looked. The boy who once kicked her cane in play now looked at her with something else entirely in his eyes. Not pity, not confusion, respect. "I couldn't make them see what I was worth," Gloria said, voice low. "So I stopped showing up for their bargain rate." Braden nodded, then turned off the engine. "Your turn." "What?" "You always said no one gets to hog the driver's seat forever. Your turn, Grandma." Gloria hesitated, then switched seats. It took her longer to swing her legs around and adjust the mirror, but when her hand wrapped around the wheel again, it didn't feel strange. It felt rightful. She eased them back onto the road. The van moved cleaner now, like even it knew whose hands belonged where. They rode home in silence, a comfortable one, the kind that doesn't beg to be filled. Back in the driveway, Gloria parked with deliberate care. She turned the key, then held it for a second before slipping it into her coat pocket. The sun had started to dip, throwing warm light through the windshield. Braden opened his door but paused, leaning back inside. "You got something on your seat," he said, pointing. She looked down. A sticky note, slightly curled from the heat. "Never too old to drive the story." Gloria read it once, then twice. Her lips parted, then folded into a smile too deep for photographs. She reached for the note, pressed it against the dash, and left it there. The van was locked, the air was cooling, and the keys were right where they belonged.